All right, episode 137. Today we're going to talk about, did we just hit that real estate brick wall? We're going to get started right now. All right, episode 137. We are talking about, did we hit that real estate brick wall? Are we starting to feel with rising interest rates? We're starting to see that with these increase in home prices. Are we starting to see a little bit of that pullback, at least here in the North Texas area? We'd love to hear what's happening in your marketplace. But let's remember, today's show is brought to you by one of our favorite sponsors,
Liquid Death.
Yes, Liquid Death. That would be great because I would love to get those for free. But today's show is brought to you by one of our favorite home warranty companies, not your father's home warranty company. If you're loving tech, if you're loving digital, if you're wanting ease of use, you need to talk to the Ron over at Armadillo Home Warranty. It's armadillo.1/Tor, Tore. Go connect with the Ron and use them for all your home warranty needs here in the North Texas and Texas area. I know that someone was talking about in our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. They were needing a good home warranty company in there, so they shouted him out.
Also, go join the group, only real estate group worth being a part of.
Yeah. So let's talk about. Let's get rid of this.
And check out homewarddfw.com.
Oh yeah.
What's going on in the market?
Yeah. So look, I know. I was talking to Elizabeth Austin this morning about this, and there was an agent that had posted that that they had like 10 or 15 offers, but I think it was 20 offers actually. It's 20 offers, and she had said on her Facebook post, guess how many of them came in at list price or under list price?
4.
5.
Whoa, I was so close.
Yeah.
So 25% of the offers were at or under list price.
Yes.
Interesting.
So, where Elizabeth started seeing is, or she said, no, it was under contract. Sorry. She had 20 under contract properties. How many of those are accepted at contract or under? I'm sorry, because that's even.
So that's accepted.
That's accepted
offers.
Contracts. Yes.
Wow.
So I had that all wrong. Yes. So she already had buyers under contract on them at or under list price.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe it. And so, why do you, I guess let's just talk about what this episode is even about. What are you guys feeling in the market right now? We have average 30-year REITs are above 5% now. First time in a long time. I don't get to see this from the trenches, like our awesome agent partners get to see every day. But I think what I'm feeling, right? I saw just here in North Texas, so you'd have to look at your hot sheet or whatever your metric is you're basing it off. But I look at a rolling 7-day new listings. I look at new listings coming to the market on a rolling 7 days every day. It's one of my nerdy things I do in the morning when I drink my coffee. We were at 2,553 yesterday, 2,553 new listings. It hasn't been over 2,200 since 2020, early 2020, pre-pandemic 2020.
Correct. Is that sent to you in as like a spreadsheet so you could actually go back, or do you just look at every day? And
I just look at it so often.
Too bad it wasn't a spreadsheet so we could have that graph.
I kind of should. Yeah. I bet if I went back, you could probably find a way to make it into export it somehow or whatever. What was interesting to me, though, is on top of that, there were 708 price decreases. And so you have 2,500 new listings, 708 price decreases. You have about 1 in every 3.5. It's a dumb way to do a statistic. 1 out of every 3 to 4 listings that come on the market, you're also having 1 price decrease as well, which if you look at these in terms of KPIs, I think what we're starting to see, and obviously I think interest rates play a part in this because buyers are less likely to go way over asking price, guarantee it, and pay a higher interest rate. I think you're starting to see sellers go, I got to make a more reasonable offer. And you start to see enough of those come in that sellers are finally going, okay, we might have outkicked our coverage with this pricing here.
I brought this up, I think it was on last week's show or the week before that, where I had a post about with interest rates going up, do you feel that inventory levels are going to go up? And everyone in the comment section was like, no, like almost like kind of saying that I was wrong for even asking that question.
We're like so married to our opinions as real estate professionals, by the way, aren't we?
Yeah,
what is this thing about us being really sure about everything we say?
But my thought process behind it, they're like, this will only heat up the market. This is going to drive more people to drive them more in the market because interest rates are going up. They're going to make decisions faster. I'm only seeing things get hotter and more multiple offers. And I said, and my thought process behind this was, look, the buyers that you already have in the marketplace, that could help get them off the fence or make a decision faster. So you're essentially burning the tank of gas that you already have without considering what your future refill cost is going to be.
Yeah, like you're hitting the NOS early in the race.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, and so this right here actually talks about this. So on let's see, when was this written? This article was written today. So today is what? Today is April 5th. And it's on Inman. It talks about home price growth reaccelerates to set new February record, right? So February's 19.6% annual home price appreciation, together with a sharp rise in mortgage rates, has produced the tightest affordability in 15 years, according to data from Black Knight. So,
do you know anything? And this is what I do want to know about these articles when we see is do you know if that's home prices for listed properties or closed properties? Because both of those wouldn't quite correlate to interest rates. And it's like Matt said earlier in our team meeting today, you can use baseball stats to tell you anything that you want to figure out, right? Like, and the reason I just asked
doesn't break it down. My assumption goes after close rates, but they're probably taking everything on the market as well.
They could be, but and even if it's closed, then those people might have locked in lower rates because rates have just ticked up in the last couple of weeks,
right?
Like massively.
But what they're talking about in affordability, though, so when you look at affordability, you also have to factor in. You take current rate plus sold comps because sold comp typically is going to produce your next 90 days of valuation. So you have to take that into account plus that interest rate, and then take that will equal the affordability index.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying because the people that are pricing are going to be pricing based on those comps. I just wonder if there are going to be other variables, meaning like the people that are pricing off those comps now, like with higher interest rates, are they going to get the same level of offers and interest, or are there going to be more price decreases and stuff like that? Like what you should really have is a subset of data that's like all of this right here plus 90 days from now what those properties closed at, because that would factor in like how people were reacting to these interest rates right now.
Correct. Yeah. Let's see here. So, when we look at that though, if one, we're now really facing that affordability, right? You've got where some of us are still feeling really, really busy. You probably had a good pipeline of business of ready to go clients, ready to go buyers, right? They've already made that plan of moving. They were probably out there making offers or close to it or put something in motion that still means that they have to execute on buying a house. But, what I'm looking at is, again, your 90 to 180 days future business. So future Matt Kelderman business, what does that look like in terms of, continue filling up your pipeline and saying, hey, rates are now over 5%, by the way. Yeah. Even though historically they're still historically low. I hate saying that shit because, for the last 12 years, they've been this, and everyone that's been in the marketplace has seen those low rates. And so now the historically low rates, you got to go to grandparents and saying, oh, back in my day, it was 150% interest rate.
The historically low interest rate conversation is like the grandparents saying they had to walk uphill in the snow both ways to school. And you should just be thankful for that.
And I wonder too, like how much of that busyness just comes from the clients that agents have. Because here's what I will say. I have been completely unaffected by the interest rate raises so far. I haven't had one buyer leave the market because of interest rates. I saw my first 5.25% the other day, right? Like, so there's the buyers that I'm working with are still super engaged. I think Nick kind of hit on it a little bit, and Brian did too. As real estate agents, the reason people are so sure is one, they don't want to face the fact that they might have to pivot at all, right? And do something differently because they just did that a year and a half ago.
No matter how crazy things get, we want them to stay exactly how they are.
Yeah, exactly. A year and a half ago, we were having the same conversation. We rolled in 2021 and everybody was like, oh, it's like this market's ridiculous. And now everybody like wants it to stay this way. Yeah. Like we're really bad at looking at lagging indicators. And this is something I've learned through you guys of doing this for years, right? Like agents are still having conversations at the table like this market's never going to end. And the reality is, like, I saw a Facebook post for myself from January 1st of 2021. And that was the first over, people got 30 grand over asking price, essentially 10% of their home price. That means we are officially 14 months into this from just even my own understanding. So I'm now having conversations with sellers and buyers, and Brian used the baseball statistic. I think you can use numbers to say, I really honestly argue either side of the comment or either side of the argument. And what agents are going to have to get really good at doing as we move forward and some of this stuff changes around a little bit is they're going to have to be able to explain to buyers why this is still a great market for them to buy in, and be able to sit down with their sellers and say, hey, look, this might be the best offer you're going to get, because the one metric that we don't have, and there's no way to get this, and this would be the end all metric, is if somehow we actually tracked offers per listing, right? Like we can do it as an individual agent. You can track your own, or even us as a team who sells a lot of units. I think we could do some pretty decent data gathering on that side. But that would be the ultimate thing to take into your seller. Be like, look, I understand the stories you're hearing. And those were true when we were getting 30 offers. We are still getting multiple offers, but multiple means 2.
Yes.
Right? And when we're just using that one little blanket phrase to describe all of them, I think there's a big disconnect in how agents use that information to explain to sellers what they can get for their house, and how sellers understand that information, because 2 and 30 are both multiple and they are not the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
By the way, would you guess, so out of the top 10 markets for annual home price appreciation, what would you say took the number 1 spot?
Phoenix.
Tampa,
Phoenix.
Florida.
Tampa.
What?
All right.
At 33.2%.
I could have sworn I saw Phoenix the other day.
Austin, Texas.
Phoenix for
Austin,
sure.
Texas at 33%. Raleigh, North Carolina at 32.8%. Phoenix, Arizona at 32%.
There was a weird point where like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or some like vacation spot up in that northeast
Vacation
area,
spots sneak
northwest
in there
area.
on technicalities sometimes, depending on where you're at in the year. that might sneak in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, it says the affordability crisis is really bad in Western coastal markets. It now takes more than half the median income to make monthly payments on the average price home in Los Angeles, San Jose, San Diego, and San Francisco.
I hate that they use it. I always hate real estate metrics that are based off California numbers, though, because I feel like that's the most skewed market. Like, but here's the reality.
That's still taking but
they're talking about their income.
Their income.
I get
saying
it.
It now takes to buy an average price home in Los Angeles. You need the median income is 61% in terms of median income to average price payment.
Sure.
Right. You have 39% left over after paying your monthly mortgage.
But I think every one of us, no matter where you're listening to the show from, can see this happening in your individual market too. Like those neighborhoods that used to be $100,000 neighborhoods are $200,000 neighborhoods, right? The neighborhoods used to be $200,000 neighborhoods or $300,000 neighborhoods. And honestly, the worst part about this, and we've talked about this a little bit, is people who didn't own a home going into this. It's not that home ownership is over. You are seriously behind now, because there's no. Being able to take $200,000 worth of equity out of a house and roll it into your next house is a huge advantage when you're up against somebody who's putting 3.5% down on their first house.
Well, and specifically I hate when we get super geographically specific on this show, but especially in evolving markets like North Texas, where we're at, is we had the benefit for a long time, and Kelderman used to put this the best way, like Dallas, Fort Worth, specifically North Texas, that this metropolitan area was kind of like the major metropolitan area that never grew up for a long time. Like we still got to pay small town rates when it comes to rents and affordability and stuff like that. Like go anywhere outside of Manhattan, even if you're 45 minutes outside the city, you're still paying prices that are at a premium because you're so close to the city. We never experienced that in North Texas, and now we are, right? Yeah. And it's just catching up to the influx of people coming here and everything else. And like, it is true. You know, if you, I cannot, I say that because we're talking about have we hit a brick wall and all that type of stuff. I cannot say this enough. If you're having conversations with your buyers around prices and interest rates and blah, 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 I cannot stress this enough. You've got to get your hands on assets. You've got to get your hands on assets. Renters are going to be slaves in the future. And that is just 100% true. We are transitioning to such an investor heavy society that there is going to come at some point a vanishing point where if you do not own any real estate, you're not going to have a chance to own it in the future.
Yeah. Well, So from 1995 to 2003, U.S. homebuyers needed to devote only 25.1% of their median income to make the monthly mortgage payments on an average price home, right? That's now risen to 29.1% for the nation as a whole as of March 2022. Now, what they, and relating this to have we hit that real estate brick wall? It talks about in here, when payment to income ratios rise above 21%, that usually helps cool the housing market. But at this moment, record low inventory continues to fuel growth, even in the face of the tightest affordability in the last 15 years that Black Knight reported. So, there's a little bit now. I do know, and I talked to a lender about this yesterday, in fact, is that the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas warned of some price corrections that they believe that there's that housing bubble that's starting to form, and that they believe that there's going to be some price corrections that eventually will happen, in the not so distant future.
So, and this is a legitimate question, because I think a lot of real estate agents probably have this, and I will not be afraid to ask it. Is that so? When we're talking about home price affordability, and you talk about 30%, that essentially means if somebody makes $5,000 a month, they've got to go out and find a $1,250 place to rent, and those don't exist at all, right? Like, where are you going to rent for $1,250 if you're an actual family? And $5,000 a month is $60,000 a year income. That's not some joker ass income. There's a lot of people, you know what I mean?
But that's what they're talking about. Is at that time, at the time when they talked about 25% of the median income to make the monthly mortgage, that was 95 to 2003.
Right.
There's a lot of people that was finding housing payments in the $1,200 a month range.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
100%.
So my first house payment was, and I bought in 2007. My first house was $170,000, and my mortgage payment was $1,223.
But that's kind of my point, is even that metric, by a 20-year-old metric, is almost unattainable at this point, just because the inventory doesn't exist, right? Like, when you said the thing about the Dallas Federal Reserve or whatever, talking about the housing bubble, there will be somebody in every market left holding the bag at the end of this. Meaning, there will be people who bought right before everybody realized that interest rates and this 1.5% or whatever we experienced last year a month, which isn't happening last year, isn't happening this year at all. Yeah. There will be people at the end of this who were the last ones to buy in this hot market, and then they have the longer wait for their equity position to be corrected, right?
Yeah. 100%. And this is, so I don't want it to be too doom and gloom, just because to speak to what both of you guys are saying right now. Like, understand that if Nick, you're right, and I actually do believe that you're right, and I've actually been preaching to the team about this quite a bit. When we talk about there being a correction in sales prices, the only people that are having their sales prices, quote unquote, corrected are people that haven't sold yet, right? Let's say that there's 100 people in a neighborhood, okay? And somebody just sold right now, and they got $100,000 over asking price. Their home was was asking $500,000. They got $600,000, right, or whatever, And then 3 months from now, their neighbor goes and tries to sell as well, and with higher interest rates, an uptick in inventory, right, and a smaller buying pool. Now that house only sells for $550,000. His neighbor's house. Okay. That's a $50,000 price correction. And it actually doesn't affect anyone at this particular moment in time. Meaning the guy who sold for $600,000 already sold. Okay. The person who's selling for $550,000 has probably lived there for 5 to 7 years. So they still have equity. They're still making quite a bit of money, right? The only person who could be affected is the guy who bought the first house at $600,000 if he tries to turn around and sell that thing right away. But if he's going to stay there for another 7 to 10 years or whatever it is, he's just going to go right through this cycle. And so, yeah, you can have price corrections, steep price corrections, without a bubble burst. And I think that's what we're facing. We're not going to see mass liquidation of assets because these people have already bought. They're on the tail end of a cycle. The next cycle is probably going to be a pretty generous, I would think, pricing correction as you see interest rates continue to rise and a buying pool that's going, I'm not going to do both. I'm not going to pay $100,000 over and pay a higher interest rate, right? Those people are probably going to, just put out there, those people are probably going to be able to buy pound for pound at a cheaper price than the people who bought in Q1 of 2022. And as long as the people who bought in Q1 and Q3 and Q4 of last year aren't trying to turn around and sell right now in the short term, we're not going to have an inventory crisis. We're not going to have a debt crisis, and we're not going to have a liquidity crisis. We're going to have a steep price correction, and if you just stay put, you're going to ride that right out through the next economic cycle. And so you can have both forces at play. I do think we're going to see a price correction. I also don't think it's going to take the entire market down.
No, they said in the Dallas Fed, they're coming out and saying that it's the first time since the early 2000s that some of these indicators that they are seeing have been recorded this far outside of the normal bounds, right? So, and some of their indicators are exponentially rising price to rent ratio, right? Because that's going insane too.
Dude, you try to find a 1% deal in North Texas right now.
No, you can't.
Good luck.
Yeah, but they said in here, look, it doesn't mean that a price correction would cause another global financial meltdown. Yeah. So that today's buyers remain in better financial shape, are less reliant on debt for their home purchases.
Yes.
So, when we hear about this, it's also making sure that it's a way to educate your buyer. So there's a couple ways that we could educate a buyer, especially if they're a little bit concerned of buying in this marketplace, right? Number one is we're most likely a price correction, even a 10% fall, like you said, at 500,000, that's 50,000. That's a 50,000 swing. You would have to have a majority one-off sales doesn't affect the entire outcome, right? You have to have a multiple.
Also add on that if you stay put and we go back to normal historical appreciation of 5% a year, you're only 2 years behind the 8 ball, and you're going to live there for at least 5 to 7 years. So
you get with Mortgage Mike, so mortgagemikeoftexas.com. So if you're in Texas, if you're an agent in Texas, or if you want to refer a client to, so go to mortgagemikeoftexas.com and talk with him. But even at these higher rates,
drink liquid death.
The good news with these higher, in terms of the real estate industry, so I'm going to say about this, is that what these higher rates are good for is that it actually creates another refinance opportunity in 8, 10, 12 years down the road.
Yeah.
Because one thing I brought up to Mortgage Mike about is saying, look, all these people that are refinancing at 2.75, 3% rates, does this affect your industry in the next 10 years? Because, when markets start to go down, right, or, when there's a downturn in the real estate market, usually interest rates were to fall.
Right.
And so the loan officers may get less home purchase deals, but they could pick up their purchase, their business side on the refinance.
Right.
And I was like, if you have no one to refinance and home purchase contracts falls, you're screwed.
Yeah, you just locked in everybody at 2.7 or whatever. You shot your whole shot in that one go.
Exactly. And so now we're rebuilding up that forest per se, and you get your client into a 5 point. What'd you say, Matt? 5.25, 5.25, and say, look, this is higher than if you were to buy last year. You probably should have bought last year when we were talking in the first place, but you didn't. So here we are today. That's okay. So at 5.25, what we can do is get you with Mortgage Mike, and he can analyze if and when there's a good time to refinance that down. So if mortgage rates were to fall by 1%, it may make sense to refinance it. Go ahead and do that, and hope. And we need to keep an eye on your appreciation just to make sure that makes sense. So there are still ways to win in this marketplace. And if you look at it and take the stories of, hey, we network with a lot of agents, we're starting to see buyers win at market price. They're not having to necessarily go above list price, and if they are, it's not 50,000. It may be 10 to 20,000, and that's still a win, and that's okay.
Think about the buyer conversations you might be able to have in the future for the next, however long, maybe let's just say 18 months or whatever. Yeah, the thing that might offset the 5.25 or 5.5%, or even let's just say 6% interest rate that you might be paying is the conversation around, well, that guy sold for 600 last year. This guy is listed for 580, and he's been on the market for 45 days. We could probably get it for 565. You're gonna have to pay 5.5% interest. I just saved you 35 grand because you're going to get that trade-off. Markets are never perfectly in balance, but they're never always completely in flux either. There's pros and cons to each one. So yes, it is Tuesday. I apologize about that.
We got stuff to do this later.
We got stuff going on.
Yeah, they're going
this up just for you.
I say that to say, like, we tend to come from a place, like real estate agents, or I think every entrepreneur does this. We just tend to come from a place of fear when there's mass change, right? And if you had sat,
And look, real estate agents are good at selling fear.
yes, 100%, right? And if you had looked at this market 2 years, if you looked at the market in 2019 and been like, hey, let me paint a vision for the future when you don't know how to advise your buyers because they're just shooting blindly. Everything's going for $1 million over asking or whatever it is. There's 50 offers on every house and you're not even going to get to show it before you make an offer because it's already going to be gone. Would you like to work in that market? Who would have said yes? No one.
Nobody.
But now we're like, I don't want it to change. It's crazy.
I wanted to ask you something. So selling the fear part, which agents are good at.
Yes.
So don't you remember in 2020? Let's go back to that, right? Remember what happened? There was something pandemic, I think.
I spent a lot of time
Remember
at
you
home
made
for
fun of
some
that,
reason.
Brian? I think we've got some.
I grew a sweet
Jesse,
ass
if you can
beard.
drop some recordings of
Do you
Brian
mean
making
made fun? I still make fun of it. I'm fully vaccinated, had it a couple times now, and still make fun of it, by
But
the way.
do you remember all the forbearance that was taken? Roughly
Yes.
8.1 people was in homeowners took the forbearance option.
Yep.
Remember what all there's not all. Remember what a lot of the real estate agents were saying about this wave of foreclosures coming through?
Yes, they're like, yeah, because it was forbearance. Nobody's going to get their job back. And early 2021, whenever all the forbearance ran out, you were just going to see 15 million properties come out on the market. The whole thing was going to collapse.
Out of 8.1 million homeowners who were in forbearance, how many?
Six.
How many? Do you, yes, $1.
Yeah, exactly.
$1. How many do you think of those homes actually have been on the market and sold?
Is this in percent? Percent?
No, give me a number, not percent.
Well, you said 8 points. Okay, you said
There's
8.1%.
8.1. No, 8.1
I don't know what a
million.
reasonable number
sorry,
is, so I will say
8.1 million homeowners.
I'll say
1.5
100,000.
1.5 million.
100,000.
of those?
Just throw like an
100,000.
absurd number that would be
Yeah.
10,000.
100,000.
What is this? Price is Right.
$1.
925,000
Yeah.
homes went on the market in between the pandemic when they went in forbearance through now, which was roughly about 40,000 home sales a month if you kind of average.
That
all
just says they went on the market.
that sold distressed proproperties. So
Yeah, but
talking
that
about-
doesn't even say they went into foreclosure.
no. Yes, that's
So that's even a smaller number.
yes.
Because how many of those people just decided to sell?
Right, have put their homes up for sale.
Yeah,
That's all it says.
It
Right,
doesn't even say
But
that
the
they were
crazy-
in financial distress.
which tells you, look how that gap. Right, so agents are great at selling the fear
Yes.
in this, and so while we're saying, look, we've hit this brick wall, we're not saying that the market's come crashing down. You just have to educate consumers, especially buyers right now in this market, because what's going to happen is you're going to have both sides of the fences on this. You're going to have real estate agents like, no decrease here. Market's still hot, 20 offers.
Yeah.
And they're only talking about one particular experience they had.
Yeah,
And maybe that agent has only sold 2 houses in the last 6 months. They're like, no, we're really feeling it.
Yeah.
Out of those 2, I mean, I had 20 offers and it went for
Yeah.
60,000 over. And that was a prime house. It was completely updated. It was the only house in this neighborhood that goes to the best schools, right? Versus an entire market picture.
Yes.
And they're still saying it's hot. And then you got the other side. It's like, nope. I mean, I'm having buyers just make lowball offers. I'm getting a lot of sight unseen offers from these investors, these bottom barrel feeder investors who just will send me a blind offer and say I have to present it, and it's $200,000 less than list price. So the market's
On a
going
$300,000
the
house.
market's going to shit, and no one should buy right now. Right? You've got both sides of the fence
Yeah.
of people of saying that, and so you come in the middle and start saying like, look, here's what's happening. Right, Lewis, inflation's gone up.
Yeah.
You probably felt it. Gas prices up. Unless you drive an electric car.
I need to get one. of
Has
those.
electricity gone up?
Electricity has gone up.
Has
Oh,
it?
so that's not.
I don't know.
I
mine's
feel like
auto
those
debited. I don't know.
markets kind of parallel one another. So
Matt wouldn't know.
Tesla owners start to get real snarky when gas prices go up, but I think electricity markets probably mirror it at least somewhat.
Just tell Matt that he's over here bragging.
I'm
Sold
not.
one-
I've actually-
no, this Matt.
Oh, this Matt, he's all excited about
Yeah,
this.
so
Yeah.
1.39 in 6 days.
Hey, that's
Oh,
super good.
That's a one-upper.
Well, you said something earlier that I do want to come back to. It's totally like you're saying how do we stay like busy in this like crazy shifting market and stuff like this. Again, another reason this is a great thing I think for the market. I'm a big fan of higher interest rates because I think it'll level things out. I'm also a big fan of it because like, how much busier do you want to be? Right now, you're having to sacrifice all of your efficiency just to get people under contract. Like,
when you're actually working full time, which
yeah,
is crazy.
we had
As
an
a real estate
episode
agent,
2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago about, like, should you charge your buyers a fee for your gas? Like, wouldn't you want to show fewer houses? You're having to make offers on like 1 billion properties to get stuff under contract right now. Like, let's have a market shift. Hey, like, we'll have normal negotiations and maybe you only got to write one offer to get people under contract if you negotiate it well. Like, what are we talking about being more busy? Like, we're busy as heck. Pound for pound, we're busier per client than we ever have been. It's mad inefficient.
yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I would love to see rates. Honestly, I would love to see them push almost the way the big banks have done it. Like when they started clogging up their pipeline, they would just raise interest rates to slow it down and then get back to normal. What I would love to see is them just, the overall rate go to 6.5% right now, just immediately. Say if you're not on it, and, one, it forces everyone into it at this very moment, causes enough slowdown so we can start to get inventory back on the market and then start to level out and just have, almost like a reset.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen.
Would you be in favor of like standardized interest rates across banks and lenders? The way that you have like standardized, I don't know, FDIC insurance and stuff.
It's tough. I mean, then we would have less mortgage companies.
It's a weird analogy. The FDIC insurance thing wasn't.
Yeah.
You think you'd have less mortgage companies?
I mean, then what would be the reason? Yes, you would have to, right? I mean, what would people compete on right now in terms of eventually? Then the only thing they could compete on is the personality or service, right?
Yeah. Isn't that what barbers do?
No, it's all barbers.
Yeah, personality and service.
But are all prices of barbers the same?
I guess that's true.
No, yeah, and
I was like, wait.
Yeah. That was a terrible analogy. I was way wrong.
Also, your reasoning behind them, like I don't care about the quality. Like I care about the quality of the haircut, and my lady is right across the street. And if we ever move this office, guess what? I would find somebody who's across the street.
Yeah,
from
no,
that
I
office.
actually don't care. No, I'm with you. I actually want you to have less of a personality. I'd rather be.
Don't talk to me, please.
Yeah.
Who's a fan of that, by the way? When you're essentially like being held hostage.
Dude.
And look, I like getting my nails and my feet done, or like getting your hair done, or like the dentist. Why does the dentist want to talk to me when he's like fisting my mouth? Like, I don't understand why you have 3 fingers in my face hole and I can't, like, you're asking me questions like I have any ability to respond. Yeah. Plus all the spit's backing up the back of my mouth. Yeah. The lady's not there with the suction thing fast enough. I feel like I'm going to drown over here.
Exactly. I wish I had slightly more confidence to just put my AirPods in when I got my hair cut or went to the dentist. I feel like that's so socially...
I'd put my phone on speakerphone and make calls during that time. Do you not do that?
I can do it with my AirPods. I just feel like it's so socially unacceptable.
No,
I feel like he's going to give me a bad haircut.
I think if I put my AirPods in.
No, my lady Camilla, she knows. And I said, look, and I should probably make her sign an NDA.
NDA, yeah, exactly.
If you're in a closed off space, then I get it. But if you're like in a regular salon and there's all these other people there and you're the one jackass on your phone, I would not like you.
Yeah. That maybe is why I don't do it.
Well,
I don't.
The speakerphone person or listening to voicemails in public on speakerphone.
Oh, yeah.
No, I just want to chuck a warm milkshake.
So my lady has
has
an enclosed space. So it's just her. It's just me and her.
That's totally
I would not do that. Not with other people around because you never know. I have y'all on speaker. Who knows what y'all are going to say on speakerphone?
Oh, dude,
and vice versa. You never know what I'm going to say.
You know how many times I've asked, like, are you in the car by yourself?
Yes.
See, I go down to South Dallas for my guy. I only trust one dude with a beard. I followed him to 3 different places.
He does a mad good job, though.
Yeah,
does he do your beard as well?
He does. He does everything.
See, that's
what else does he do?
If you've got
chest hair,
if you've got a for real
all
beard like Jesse, you got to find the right dude.
Yeah,
because it's harder to cut beards, I would imagine.
I saw a story about David Ortiz that he just flew his barber around with him all season long just to edge him up.
Well, I just told you, like,
that's so great.
I just told Matt, I'm like, man, I need a haircut bad. It's really bad, and I was like, they just need to come to me.
That's one of those things, though. I have leverage in my life, and I told you, I said it's not the perfect solution yet because I don't have somebody who comes to me. One, I just don't know where I would ever be, like. But I got my lady across the street every third Wednesday at 10 a.m. I walk over and plop my happy ass down for a hair wash and a quick touch up, and then I come right back over, right? And the one time I missed it, guess what happened? I went 6 weeks.
You know, they have mobile groomers. They have mobile groomers. Why not just have mobile haircuts?
They 100%. They 100%.
So, like, just give it to me. Bring the van up.
Yeah,
let me in there wherever I'm at. Like after this, they should be there waiting.
They do have y'all never seen have y'all ever seen that bus that parks?
Yeah, I've been there. I've gone to that guy.
Is he pretty good?
Yeah, he's legit.
There's
he used
a dude
to cut hair for like
this is a mad business. If you guys want to start a second side business in your community, there's a dude who drives around in a Winnebago. It's tricked out. It's
super tricked out.
It's super tricked out. And he cuts hair.
Pimp my bus.
And he parks in like restaurant parking lots and stuff. And apparently he does a great job.
Dude,
I don't need that.
I'm dude, what he's called.
Dude used to cut hair for the Cowboys back in like Emmitt Smith days. And
what?
That kind of stuff. You got pictures with him and everything.
I heard, and I didn't hear, like big companies or NFL teams or whatever, like large organizations, you don't realize the amount of perks they have. Like,
I just think the perk
when you say that, like he just cuts the hair for the Dallas Cowboys, that means if you're a Dallas Cowboy, you just go to the facility.
Yeah, but
and some people just cut your hair there.
I would assume that maybe the rookies use that one, and the main guys have their own person.
Yeah, that's his Winnebago.
Making the world famous.
It's
world famous.
I love
Celebrity Barber VC in case somebody wants to go find it.
Yeah,
dude,
cool.
Just legit.
Barber.
All right.
VC.
What kind of questions do we have? Because I know.
Give it to us.
I know.
I'm getting there.
Hang on. Let's look at some of these.
As we're finishing out, what do you think?
Y'all finish
so
out.
We finished the first quarter. What is your expectations in terms of Q2 and going into the summer, where traditionally we see things heating back up, we see inventory going up, which we've mentioned on this already that inventory is going up.
I have been saying this since at team meetings and in personal conversations with our agent partners for a while. My prediction is that sales prices level out. We probably even see a pricing correction. The buyer pool shrinks a little bit, but there's more inventory. We have, and when I say the buyer pool shrinks, understand that it probably comes back in line with inventory. Inventory rises, buyer pool shrinks a little bit. I think it's a great thing. I have been saying this for a while. If you can survive and thrive in the market that we have been in for the last 6 months, you can weather any storm. I welcome higher interest rates. I welcome a more balanced market. I think things only get more efficient, better, and easier from here for the foreseen future. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think Q2 is going to stay hot because it probably wouldn't do anything else. I will be really curious to see what days on market looks like in July and rolling into August. I think that's going to be the best indicator because look, for not for every agent, right? A lot of people were taken off guard by where their pipeline needed to be going into end of Q3 and Q4 last year. Right. And I see a lot of people falling in that trap again because this is what happens to real estate agents. We talk to real estate agents every Q4 and the beginning of Q1 whose businesses are going down. And then you follow up with them about, hey, you guys want to get together? And they're like, nah, business is freaking smoking right now. And then every September, the whole thing starts over again.
But it's only smoking compared to how crappy their Q4 was.
That's exactly the thing is, right? It's you went through all these months of starving, and now you're eating like a freaking, like, I don't know, somebody who eats a lot.
Or like a king?
Like a king. That's why I was going. I just couldn't find myself.
Yes, a strong seller market will absolutely create more FSBO opportunities. It's one of the main things we talked at our team meeting about today. We're crushing it with FSBOs right now, 100%.
Yep.
The public is always the last to find out about anything, right? So they're going to think that the market is way more seller favorable for a lot longer than it actually is. So you're going to start to see FSBO days on market tick up for sure. If you're looking at prospecting, look for expires and FSBOs. Yeah. Expires and FSBOs to be a big source of your prospecting going forward through the rest of the year, I think.
If that's the low-hanging fruit. So during the recession, the low-hanging fruit was expireds. Yeah. And in this market, it's no longer expireds. It's now for sale by owners, which they've got their hand up, and the objection is they don't want to pay the commission. 100%. So get past that objection, figure out a solution, and win with it. It's the same thing on expireds. Expireds, their objection was they felt like they were fleeced.
Yep.
They felt like every real estate agent is the same.
Yep.
The last person didn't do what they say they were going to do, or they ghosted them. Mm-hmm. And they're tired of making their beds and skeptical that the job can get done. Yep. So you figure that objection and show them proof of concept. Easy done deal. Yep. It's the same thing on for sale.
That's 100% your low hanging fruit going forward for sure. Okay, boys. Before we do this, I have to adjust an answer. that I answered a previous question.
I don't
think about this a lot.
I don't
Gotta
think
be
we can.
honest.
First off,
Really
we
quick.
need to hear it, and I don't think we can accept it.
I'm going to do it really quick. I would change my superpower. What did I even say my superpower was? It doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
I'm changing my superpower to I can bowl a perfect game anytime I want. And the reason why is I'm never going to do it. It only works as a bit. I'm the only one that knows this. I can bowl a perfect game whenever I want, and I never bowl. So I show up to like my nephew's 5th birthday party, whenever that is, probably sometime next year. And I get like 4 strikes in a row, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is crazy!" I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy! Like I'm just on a hot streak tonight." Boom, bowl a perfect game. People are like, "Oh, Brian bowled a perfect game with a rental ball. This is nuts, right?" Then, even though I just bowled a perfect game, I don't bowl anymore. Like I don't take up bowling. I don't get into it.
Not even that day. He just sits down and drinks.
I'm done. Right? Whatever. Give me my plaque or whatever, and I got a perfect game. That's crazy. 3 years go by without me bowling again. And then finally we get another birthday party. And the talk of the whole party is, remember that time Brian bowled a fucking perfect game 3 years ago? And I'm still not saying anything, right? I take a few warm-ups. Oh my, all strikes? This is bananas. Get to like 4th, 5th frame. They're like, Brian is... And even I'm like, I don't know how this is happening. This is bananas. Boom! Perfect game 3 years later. Rental ball. Everyone is losing their minds. How does a dude who never bowls, these people around me all the time, never see me bowl, back-to-back perfect games? Is it even possible? Then I'm done. And then I'm done bowling forever. I swear off. And anytime anybody brings it up at a birthday party, I even go to several more birthday bowling parties in the future. And I'm like, you know what, guys? I've kind of already reached the mountaintop. This game's boring to me now. It kind of feels like all I can do is bowl strikes, and people don't have a way to do it. Like, yeah, actually, he's really good.
He's thought this through. Yeah,
absolute.
I'm like 95 years old, and I go to my great grandchild's birthday party. There's now it's like a myth at this point. There's only like a couple people who've been alive when I bowled my other perfect games. I'm like walking my way up to the lane. I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take one throw, haven't bowled in 65 years. Throw it. It's a strike. I'm like, all right, well, I bowled this. I'll go until I miss. Whatever. I'll go until I miss. Boom. 95 years old. Bowls a perfect game again. Walks off into the sunset. And what's the Thelma and Louise is himself right after that. Just done. Just slammed the whole thing the whole time. 3 perfect games,
the
65 years apart.
Terrible. Yes, agreed. Terrible superpower.
I think it's a great superpower. Can you imagine everybody's mind be blown?
I want to ask like Vaughn's question real quick. Do you think the pre-foreclosure market will increase now because assessed values are increases, even though the market may be balancing? There could be. I do think that we will see. The problem when we call it pre-foreclosure is that people think that they're upside down.
Yeah.
And we got to change our mind around what the pre-foreclosure market. A lot of people that are in foreclosure or forbearance has equity in the house. And so that they may be fighting with their mortgage company. They may be trying to do a loan modification. There are I just was with the short sale queen, Nicole Espinoza, last week, and I did a cold call challenge part 2 because I did one back in 2020. So you can go to her YouTube channel and check it out. And when I was making these calls, first off, surprisingly, I got a ton of answers, which during the recession or during the first recession, I was calling
people didn't want to talk.
Those guys weren't answering the
phone.
phone.
They're defensive as hell when they did pick up too.
But the ones that I'm talking to now, they love to talk.
So I think,
that was
my robot voice.
So they're doing most of these ones that I'm talking to. They're doing a lot of loan modifications.
That's what I was going to say.
And either they were affected by the pandemic, in terms of job, and they fell behind, or there is job layoffs going on, even in this great resignation, this low unemployment market that we're in. There is still people out there. It's low unemployment because low unemployment also means that people gave up on looking at jobs and those numbers fell off.
Yes, and
so they just don't count them in the unemployment numbers.
That is super true. And all of that is true.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I didn't lie about it.
No lies here. Also, I would say if we were going to see an uptick in pre-foreclosures, it would have to be something that is unrelated to sales price and interest rate increases, meaning like what has been driving the market for the past few months with this crazy sales price increases has been people bringing cash to the table to go over asking price, blah, 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 guarantee appraisal, whatever. When you're bringing that cash, you're not taking on more debt. So as long as you can still afford the payment that you locked in, that payment's not changing because you made up the difference in cash. So you would have to have a lot of people that suddenly can't make their mortgage payment when they could a few months ago. So just because that's why I keep saying, just because there's a sales price correction doesn't mean there's going to be a market crash. You're correcting the extra, basically the excess cash that people brought to the closing table. That's where that pricing correction is coming from. So I don't see, from a pure market standpoint, an uptick in pre-foreclosures. It would have to be economically related, like job layoffs or something, which maybe is a whole different thing. But I don't see it related to increasing prices or anything.
Great. What's our question?
Ooh. No, here it is.
Yep.
If you had to be stuck in a TV show for a month, what show would you pick and what character would you be? Oh, you can't be yourself?
This is a TV show.
Well, I could be an extra character. Like I'll slide into Friends and I'll be like somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it'd be a show that I actually like watch on repeat all the time, or if I'd want to go into like some super badass show. Right? Like, because like if it's just the sitcoms that I watch all the time, like I could pick somebody and be like, oh, I could be a good whatever, and like try and figure that out because I know some of the characters. But like, wouldn't it be cooler to like be in like some other kind of show? Like,
if it's only
like I want to be Walt from Breaking Bad
for a month,
but without the end.
For a month.
Just for a month.
Yeah, I just want to be like the beginning of season 4 Walt.
I don't know the
That's
ending.
who I want to be.
I don't know the ending, by the way.
Well, it's been on for a long time. Spoiler alert, he fucking dies.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Or-
I don't have to watch it.
Or does he?
Or does he?
I'll watch
Bum,
it.
bum, bum.
I will tell you, man, and then I'm going to reveal something that you guys are going to just dogpile on me on. I will do anything New York in the 90s because it's by far the best decade to live there. And I have never watched Sex and the City until recently. I'm in season 2 now. I'm binging it like crazy. It's a good show. All the characters are horrible. They're such bad people, but it's a good show.
I don't know.
Makes me nostalgic.
I look at some of these like the Punisher ones, like or the Marvel ones, the shows like Punisher. Yeah. Like
Punisher would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be a lot of fun.
And I don't want to be in the show, but I just got turned on. My brother-in-law and his fiance are in town. Turned me on to Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Bro.
Yeah.
I just got turned
Such
on.
a great
to
show.
I got to go way back though, because that's been the choppiest show to
Man,
come to the screen.
My
in forever.
wife hates that show, and I love it. She hates Seinfeld too, and I said, "Look, it's just adult Seinfeld." And she's like, "Why are they creating more problems than they're solving?" And I actually agree with that, but
Yeah.
it's funny to me.
I do
It
like
is.
I love Curb.
All right,
Enthusiasm.
make sure to leave us, go to iTunes, leave us a review. We haven't asked for that in a while, as well as connect with the Ron. Look, you're looking for the modern home warranty, right? You're looking for that you hate old school home warranties, but you want that modern home warranty. Go connect with the Ron with Armadillo Warranty. Go to armadillo.one/tour. Connect with them, and you won't be disappointed. We guarantee it.
We guarantee you won't be disappointed.
As well as our property management company, the sponsor of the show, Homeward DFW. If you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth and North Texas area, connect. If you got a landlord or if you've got a tenant, if you need to put a house up for lease, we can help you out there. HomeWardDFW.com.
Awesome, boys. Well, let's
This
go on
was
vacation.
a mad efficient episode. Do you like when the day before you all leave to go out of town, you get hyper efficient about
Yeah.
shit?
Yes. So
I'm in the
great job.
weeds of my efficiency right now, but by 9:00 tonight, I'll be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, enjoy opening day.
I will.
Oh, to you and yours.
But first,
Yes.
we got to get out of here. Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group we're being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. And then go to that one. Thanks.